Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, that other badass jet pilot, my friend, the guy who watches my six, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul?
Well, Mr. Drew, good to see you this morning. This is going to be a great day, a great recording. Hello to all of our audience members. Hope we have new people. If you're a returning person, welcome back. If you're brand new, buckle up and stand by.
That's right. Buckle up on this one. How about this quote there, Dr. Paul? You know that guy, Will Rogers? He said, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Once again, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. And that is so true, Dr. Paul, resting on your laurels. And I've told my children, you know, when my son became a doctor, I said, now it's time to really study and be the best doctor. My daughter became a lawyer. I said the same thing. Now it's time to be the best lawyer you can be. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy. You're right. A lot of times when you get a designation, you know, you think that's the be all end all when it's actually the beginning. Even in martial arts, when you typically get your black belt in most styles, that's a sign that now you become the perfect student. I heard that many years ago, and I didn't understand it, but it's really true. It's like teaching. Sometimes teaching, you'll get better at your craft by explaining it to someone else.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And just resting on your laurels will actually set you back because you've accomplished something and then you don't do anything. And remember, hard work doesn't ever stop for anything in life. You just got to make hard work fun. All right. You know, the show today, it's titled How to Honor Lou Gossett Jr., Be an Officer and a Gentleman. Dr. Paul and I were talking about this, and I'll tell you something. That movie, first of all, Lou Gossett has physically passed away, but his impact on me was just incredible from that movie, Officer and a Gentleman. I just couldn't explain, Paul, to anybody what we went through in AOCS, which is Aviation Officer Candidate School, having a gunnery sergeant, a Marine drill instructor, changed my life, Paul.
It was a unique experience. I guess we can talk about this. Everybody has experience. Mine was a few years earlier than yours. So when the movie Officer and a Gentleman came out, I was kind of not on my last legs, but I'd experienced that quite a few years before. But the impact was there. It's a good movie if you haven't seen it. Officer and a Gentleman. It's actually in many ways it's a great movie. We're talking about other movies that seem to reflect parts of our lives. They tend to be Navy oriented.
Well, you know, Dr. Paul, on that Officer and a Gentleman, what your favorite line, which I love, is when he's doing push-ups in the mud and he says, I want to fly jets. And I know you love this one, but Lou Gossett says, my grandmother wants to fly jets.
Right. Yeah. And his grandmother, well, good. His grandmother could be part of the Wingman Show if it worked out. But the whole thing was basically, a hero, and you have a high-ranking person, you have a low-ranking person, and the lower-ranking person is, getting harassed, and he has to overcome these obstacles to live his dream. There's no flying in the movie. There's no aviation in the movie at all.
No, but there's a love story in there.
It's a love story. It's all love stories. Yeah, Top Gun's a love story. Top Gun's a love story with F-14s. The basics is a love story. But it all works, and it's a movie. It's not 100% accurate. Maybe it's not 50% accurate, depending on how you.
No, it's not accurate, Dr. Paul. You cannot fight your drill instructor. I'm sorry, right. That doesn't happen. That's the only thing that really bothered me about Officer and the Gentleman.
Yeah, that you will die. And I've heard this on Top Gun and other movies where they've got the technical director, and the director wants to do something, and the advisor says, "No, no, no, that wouldn't happen." And the movie person says, "You do the technical stuff. Let me make the movie." And they put in some scene, and it tends to work. The purists may not like it, but it works. Writing a script, writing and doing are two different things.
That's true. Top Gun was another movie, Dr. Paul, that we love because it once again explains some of our flying. And when people ask me, we are TAC pilots. So we flew A6s and A7s, the only reason they make aircraft carriers. But when people ask us about Top Gun, I went through a Top Gun school. It was with attack jets, but I still went through a Top Gun school. And I always say that when they ask me, do you do what the Blue Angels do? I said, we do exactly what the Blue Angels do, except our audiences don't clap.
Yeah, when we're not nearly as close, but yeah, they're basically gentle maneuvers for the most part.
No, I'm saying when we drop them bombs, our audiences don't clap and say nice maneuver.
Yeah, that's true. That's what
I was talking about. How about Full Metal Jacket, Paul?
Great. I thought that was a great movie. It's in two parts. People say, it's a Marine Corps movie. It's primarily about the Marine Corps. A lot of folks don't realize that the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy. And a lot of them will say, yes, the men's department. That used to be the old combat.
I never heard that before.
I heard that a couple times, actually. Not too much. Not live. Actually, I heard it from an FBI agent.
In Full Metal Jacket, Paul, what I really liked was the drill instructor, because he was closer to my gunny. And I have to tell you this, my gunnery sergeant Clark, and I'm not kidding, changed my life. He broke me down to nothing and then made me build myself back up. And that changed the trajectory of my life. The Navy changed my life. And Gunnery Sergeant Clark actually was a very, very big part in my whole life. And that drill instructor there, calling him wide body and all the things he said, that's kind of closer to what we went through.
Yes, it was closer. And he should have gotten now Lou Gossett did get an Academy Award for his portrayal of the drill instructor. And I think Arlie Army was his name. He passed away also. He should have gotten one. Very well done. A lot of stuff was just off the cuff. And he'd actually done that in real life. He was actually the Arlie Army who was in Full Metal Jacket. He was actually the technical advisor, one of them, to Lou Gossett in Officer and a Gentleman. There's all kinds of
really? That's why he did so well, I guess.
Yeah, really. There's all kinds of people, because you'll see like little parallels. The people behind the scenes that make things go. Lou Gossett did a great job as an actor, because even in the end when he's saluting the officer candidates who are now officers, his salute is perfect.
It is. And most people can't salute in movies, and that bothers the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I learned how to salute like a Marine.
Yes.
Pow, just like that.
Right.
The other movie, the last movie we wanted to talk about that I loved because it was on my ship was Final Countdown. And I just love to talk about that because that is the actual aircraft carrier that I flew off of, Paul.
Yeah, that was a pretty good movie, and I never forget. Had a big cast, a pretty well-known cast, and what always got me was the executive officer of the ship, the XO of the ship, was Ron O'Neill, who played Superfly.
Yeah,
which was an interesting juxtaposition. First time I saw him, it's from Superfly to the XO of the USS Nimitz.
That's crazy. Well, everybody, welcome to the show. And as you can see behind us, we got some badass jets. Behind me, I have an EA6, which is like the jet that I flew in A6, except it has backseaters. And the EA6 can actually shut down a whole city electronically. Paul, maybe you could explain it better. But behind him, he's got a couple of bad F4s. But tell me about that EA6, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, I know there's a case of an EA6. I don't know if it was a Navy or Marine Corps. It's one of them, Navy or Marine Corps EA6 that accidentally shut down Fresno, California one night. I think this must have been in the 70s, maybe even earlier. Very powerful. It's basically a jammer. but it's very, very, very powerful radars. And the Marine Corps flew the EA-6 also. I'm
Yes, they
pretty
did.
sure. Yeah, they did. Yeah, a lot of folks don't know much about Marine Corps aviation. Not a lot of movies about that. I take it back. Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall, that's a badass movie.
The Great Santini. I should know this. Great
The
Santini.
Great
In fact,
Santini.
one of my flight partners in that movie is in the ready room scene. I remember saying, I can still see his face. Charlie Wright was his name. Yeah, he's in there for like about 2.5 seconds. So they actually went to, I guess, Beaufort, South Carolina, and did the filming in the ready room. So that was again a personality thing. All these military things have there's a lot of conflict. There's one character who's jumped on by another character, and they have to overcome towards the end, whether it's Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, Full Metal Jacket, or someone has to overcome something while others fall victim.
Well, everybody out there, thank you so much for watching and listening to us on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, everything. Thank you so much. And we have a newsletter that comes out every week, and you can get that at wingmenshow.com. Once again, our website is wingmenshow.com, and you can get our newsletter. And this week, our newsletter is going to be how to find an online university. We really appreciate all of you. And also on that website, we have a frequent flow line. And that frequent flow line means that you can ask us any question you want. Dr. Paul and myself will try to answer it. And this week's frequent flow line comes from a 21-year-old man in St. Paul, Minnesota. He says he loves us. He really respects what we're doing. So this is his question. Should I keep my job and go to a school online, or should I go to a university? I'll let you start off with that, Dr. Paul.
Wow. Okay. He's 21 years old. My question is, what's the job? What does it pay you? And go to the university. What are you studying? What do you plan on studying? You might be able to do both. How much does it cost? What's the difference in price? That could be a factor. If you're able to, attend full time, that's probably the most desirable thing for you to do. But if it's a matter of money, you may not be able to. You may have to go to school part-time, go to school at night. My father was a trained person, but when he came to this country, he had to get some other certifications, and he had a regular job. He went to school at night for a period of time. This was before I was born. This is what I was told.
Well, Paul, let me tell you something. This is what I think. I think young people need the college experience. I don't think people understand what going to college means. Doesn't mean that you become instantly smart. It means that you start something and you finish something. And that's what companies look for. They look for people who start something and finish it. And college is the best experience you can have. I'm wearing my college shirt right here, Southern University of New Orleans. I went to SUNY and had the best time of my life. My advice to you is, if by hook or by crook, get into a university, experience that college life, grow up in a university. All you're doing is learning about the world. College what it does, it lets you see other things that are happening out there. And then you have a better choice. You have a better reason to pick something that you might want to be, Paul.
Yeah, and that's true. If you're able to attend, I'd say go do it, because I'm only 21 years old. More likely, how much you make, and I'm just thinking, does somebody really depend on him? Is he married? Does he have like a child or two or something like that? That may complicate it. If you can do it, like I said initially, if you could do it full time right off the bat, that's the best thing. If you can't, as opposed to not going to college, not doing anything, then I would look at some alternative thing.
Well, I'll tell you what not to do. My son went to medical school at Tufts, and I had no idea about this, but to get your 4-year degree at Tufts, Yale, Wesley, and Boston University, it's between $90,000 and $96,000 a year. And so Dr. Paul and I were talking about this, saying, what? That's crazy. No, it's not. A lot of people have money in this country, Dr. Paul. A lot of people have no problem sending their kid to school for $500,000. That's not a problem at all. And what happens is Yale and Harvard, they're not better than Southern University per se. It's not that you get that much better of an education, but what you do, your roommates are now the vice president of General Electric. Your roommate is now the senator of Oklahoma. What you do is you experience a different caliber of people in these big uppity colleges. And, in life, it's not always what you know, it's who you know, Paul.
Yeah, I agree. You're right about that. It's the contacts you make. Because you think about it, if you're studying whatever, it could be philosophy or calculus from the same book, whatever, same stuff, pretty much the same curriculum. Why is one a community college certain price and another one at the elite university 100 times more? Well, it's because of those contacts and maybe what the faculty did, and maybe they got a Nobel Prize winner in this and that. So you can boost yourself up and say, hey, the price of admission is this if you want to be with this cadre, with this group. So that's the thing. You said that a lot of people that have money that they can just send their kids to. Yeah, I guess so. But my question is, are there enough people who can afford that to keep the doors open? And if the doors are open,
we talked about that, Paul. You and I, when I took my first flight at FedEx to Fort Lauderdale, they put us in a marina, a hotel in a marina, and I must have seen $100 million yachts all parked there. There are people in this country, on this planet, with a lot of money, Paul.
That's true. Okay, I know that Marriott you're talking about.
Yeah.
Nothing, just yachts, not big shit, just yachts. And I would say
yachts.
The poor people were the ones that had the yachts that didn't have a helicopter. Some of them had helicopters on them. Some had a landing pad. Sometimes the helicopter was there. Maybe sometimes they weren't there. Maybe they're getting service or flying somewhere. But there's a helicopter there. Got a helicopter on the ship, no name on it, and maybe some people tending it, and just a bunch of them. So maybe they'll keep the schools open. But that was a long time ago.
That's exactly what they're doing. All right, Dr. Paul, you know what that brings us to? That brings us to a Wingman PSA from the 11 facts in life. This would be fact number 7, common sense and moderation. Fact number 7, use common sense and moderation. Dr. Paul, that's one of the best facts that you can really, really live by, is using common sense. And, they say common sense isn't too common, but you know what's right and what's wrong. And also moderation. I didn't have moderation at all, and I had to learn that. That's a definite time on planet thing. The older I get, the more I understand. Moderation is the key. Paul?
Yeah, and your Gunnery Sergeant Clark probably helped you with that too, to some extent. Don't
Oh, no doubt about it. He changed everything that was about me, Dr. Paul. All right, Dr. Paul, we love to do this. How about the world's happiest countries? How about we go through the 10 world's happiest countries? They did the survey by asking people about life expectancy, quality of life, all the things that really go into being happy. And you know what the number 10 country in the world is? The 10th happiest country in the world is a country that I've been to. You've been there too, Australia. Beautiful country, Paul.
Big place. I like Australia. Spent a lot of time in Sydney. Went to Perth, which is Western Australia once. Really nice. I enjoyed it. They've kind of got opposite seasons, so when it's winter up here, it's summer there, and vice versa. If you go down there in July and August, it's a little cool. So dress appropriately.
Well, you went to Perth. That's because Navy ships pulled into Perth. And that was one of the places that some sailors never came back from, because they said Australian men treat their women not too nicely. So when Americans come over, the Australian women just love those sailors. And some sailors never come back. Number 9 on our list of the 10 top happiest countries, number 9 is Switzerland. I've been to Switzerland when I went with Ali to a fight in Japan, I believe. I think we stopped off in Switzerland. I got off the plane, stepped on the ground, got back on the plane, and I went to Switzerland. How about you, Paul?
About the same. I changed trains one time. I think I was taking a train from Germany to Italy, and I had to switch in Zurich. So I was on the train platform in Zurich for about 30 seconds, and I got the other train.
I think we both stayed there about the same amount of time.
Right.
Number 8, Luxembourg. Have you ever been there?
Yes, one time. I remember doing a charter flights there years ago. I think I did. I think I did two. It's a little tiny place. It's not far from Paris. It's a small country. I guess it's a financial capital. It's a tiny place. I had a meal there, and yeah, it was kind of like I would call it traditional European.
Very good. Number 7, Norway. You been there? I haven't been to Norway, but it looks beautiful.
Never been to Norway.
All right, number 6. One of my favorite countries, the Netherlands, Holland. And I love me some Amsterdam. Katrina and I both love Amsterdam. Amsterdam is a fun town, Dr. Paul. Have you ever been to Amsterdam?
Just to the airport. Been to the airport a bunch of times, just catching flights, changing flights. My wife spent some time there, and she liked Amsterdam. She's with her church group. She's there for like a couple of days. Liked it. Brought back some wooden shoes.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Nobody could ever wear.
We want to go there for the Tulip Festival and ride bikes around Holland. That's one of the dreams we want to do. Number 5. Now, I lived in this country when I was 14 years old for a year. The 5th happiest country in the world is Israel. Now, at this point in time, I'm sorry to say it probably isn't, but when they did the survey, Israel was number 5. I love that country, Israel.
Never been there. I was supposed to go there one time, and actually a war broke out.
Well,
we didn't go there.
Kind of what's happening now. Number 4, Sweden. Beautiful, clean place, Sweden. What do you think, Paul?
Heard good things about it. Never been there. IKEA. I put some IKEA furniture together. I think that's a Swedish company. And yeah, I think
Number
it is.
3. Now, I've been here, Iceland. And, Iceland is green and Greenland is all ice. But Iceland was a very, very nice country. It was a little expensive, though, Paul, but it was a beautiful country, Iceland.
What was it like? I've just flown over it, never been there. Is it populated?
Yeah, it's very nicely populated. And the big thing there are like hot water baths. Even in the cold, they're outdoor baths, but it's like you get into these whirlpools and people all over there. That's what they do during the day. They go to these bathhouses and sit in hot water, even though it's freezing outside. Number 2, Denmark. I loved Copenhagen. The ship pulled in somewhere in Europe, and I took a train by myself to Copenhagen because that's where I always wanted to go. Have you been to Denmark?
No, I've never been to Denmark. Not that far from Amsterdam. Those countries are close.
Well, the number 1 happiest country in the world, and Dr. Paul, this is 7 years in a row. This country is the happiest country in the world, and it's Finland. And you did some training in Finland. Isn't that true, Paul?
I did. I did some simulator training. I was in Finland for about 6 weeks in this, I guess, the springtime here. And there is a transition. It's supposed to be really, really cold. And I was dressed for it, but it wasn't that bad. It was typical winter. Yeah, Finland was. I was in Helsinki, and Helsinki was it's a very quiet place. It's a very clean city. Although I was surprised at how much graffiti was on the walls there. I guess they had like a gang thing going on there. But it was a very quiet place. People were quiet. They walked very quickly. A lot of them were very, very tall. A lot of women with it seemed like the average woman was close to 6 feet tall. A lot of tall people, and they moved very quickly, quite friendly. Not far from Russia. Russia was just a ferry ride away. I went to Estonia one time. That was like a 45-minute ride on a hovercraft, which was cool. First time I'd been on a hovercraft. Yeah, Finland was nice. I've been to up near Lapland once. You're getting close to the North Pole. very quiet. I didn't see any reindeer, but that's where that's supposedly where Santa Claus comes from, or some.
Oh, then I love Finland for that. But let's talk about Finland for a second here, because Finland did something incredible. Do you know Finland? I didn't know this, but Finland had one of the highest suicide rates in the world at one time. Finland halved its suicide rate in 30 years. And now it's one of the top countries. Well, it's the happiest country in the world. And the way they did this, Dr. Paul, is they related it to antidepressants. They started giving people antidepressants and alcohol, which is a depressant. They tried to start doing interventions on alcohol, and they noticed the less alcohol use, the less suicides. The more they gave people who wanted help antidepressants, less suicide. What do you think about that? Because that's wonderful. Anybody who could, and what they did is they attacked mental health. And that's what we need to do in this country. All those mass shootings that we talked about, that we don't talk about, but all those bad things that happen, they really do happen with people who don't have it all together. And I think Finland attacked the problem pinpoint, right on the button.
Yeah, I saw a study, and it's interesting how they tied in alcohol with a lot of that, because I thought that high rate had to do with this sad seasonal adjustment disorder, because there's so much darkness. The latitude is kind of similar to Anchorage, Alaska. You're up there, so there's a lot of daylight in the summer months, a lot of darkness in the winter months. You may just have like a little bit of sunlight, and that can depress people. But they said, no, that's not the case. In Finland, they had actually most of the suicides spiked in in spring and summer, not the winter, which surprised me. But by cutting down the alcohol, that basically improved it tremendously. Seems like it's cold up there. A lot of cold places have a lot of alcohol, and that seems to cause a lot of problems.
All right, Dr. Paul. The name of this show is called The Wingman Show, and that's because we have a Wingman of the Week. And this Wingman, we've had her on the show before, actually, but she's never been a Wingman. This week, our Wingman is Mackenzie Scott. She is the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, and she gave away $16.5 billion so far. She has a lot more, but so far, $16.5 billion. She got together a group of people, and they came up with an organization called Yield Giving. 6,000 applicants actually applied for these grants. 279 nonprofits got $2 million apiece, and 80 nonprofits got $1 million apiece. They vetted them all, and they gave these organizations in the neighborhoods some good money to help out people. I don't understand, Paul, what very wealthy people do, just keeping their money in their bank, looking at their little statements saying, this is how much money I have. Why can't people put out their money like Mackenzie Scott did and help others?
Yeah. She used to be celebrated. But you said that, what you just said sparked something in my mind. There was a guy named Ronald Lauder. I don't know if he's still alive, but he is the heir to the Estee Lauder fortune. And he ran the company after his mother passed away. And I think he was I think he's still living. I'm not sure. I guess we can check this out. But he was a very giving person, or is a very giving person. And I remember him saying that, I'm doing this because I don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. Remember that statement.
Wow, that's pretty good.
He said that what good is being the richest man in the graveyard going to be? Or so words to that effect. So wow, that's interesting. Yeah, she did a lot of.
Paul, it's true. Time on planet. As we get older, time on planet, we get smarter. Paul, I promise you, this is true. The more you give, the more you get.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Mackenzie Scott's going to do a lot. When people say, well, she was the wife of the founder of Amazon, it kind of implies that, well, she just got a lot of stuff in the divorce settlement and different. Well, that's not quite true. She's actually, really a founding member of Amazon.
That's
She
right.
had a lot to do with it. She was, they talk about in the early days, she's driving him to a job or whatever, and he being Jeff Bezos, is typing stuff in because she's driving the car and they're shooting ideas and they're putting the company together while they're driving across country. So she was actually part of Amazon from the very, very, very beginning.
I'm so glad you said that, Paul. That is so nice that she's just not getting money because she got divorced.
Yeah.
She's getting this money because she deserves it and she earned it.
Right.
Well, Dr. Paul, anything that you and our listeners think is important, anything that you and our listeners, whatever you think is beautiful, and Dr. Paul, whatever you and our listeners, whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace. Appreciate those who listen, like, and share our message. Shoot this out to a friend of yours or somebody you know that may want to hear something a little bit different than the everyday, tragedy and sports and stuff. Get them thinking a little bit more. Take care of yourself. We like you. We love you. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like and click the notification icon so you'll get an alert every time we come out with a new episode. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.